Hi, I'm Avalon Starlight, and you are listening to the Rebel Unicorns podcast. This season, we are diving deep into what being an empath in business actually looks like. Listen each week as I share tips and tricks to master your empath energy, as well as sharing incredible guests who have created successful businesses by claiming their empath title. Are you ready? Let's get our rebel on. Hello, Rebel Unicorns. You are in for a special treat today because I think that the universe does significant things, and oftentimes it creates opportunities for relationships to be brought together. And that's how I feel about today's guest. It was through a mutual friend that we were introduced to each other, and we've even come in contact with some other people, and they've kept saying like, wow, you guys are so similar. Like you guys are kind of the same, doing the same thing, merging, spirituality and, the human being into these beautiful heart-centered businesses. And like literally today's guest is of the heart, truly, completely. Like when you watch this video, if you watch this video, her heart shines so bright and it like radiates out, like her smile, like I can't even. So I'm so excited to introduce you today to Carine Camara. Woo! I got it. How are you today?
I'm awesome. I'm doing so well. Yeah, feeling really blessed.
I'm so excited that you are on today's podcast because so I was blessed to be on your podcast recently. And during that interview, I just knew that there was like this deeper level connection from one empath to another. And so I was able to say at the end of that interview, like, Carine, are you an empath?
Of course I am.
And I was like, I believe that you need to come and talk about your story with my listeners. So the first question I like to ask is, which Rebel Unicorn house are you?
Cosmic.
I knew it. What did that mean to you? Anything when you read that?
Well, it felt like, yes, of course, this is what I'm doing, because for me, I'm all about that heart connection, like you mentioned, and that goes from one person to one person. And I feel that we're all one and connected. So by changing one person, we're changing the global universe. But it seems like it doesn't seem insignificant because it's only one person at one person. But I believe that one change is the change. And it's like the domino effect. I help one person, they help another person, and then it continues, and then it can create that global shift.
Spoken like a true cosmic, and it's like that. It's a ripple effect, right? Like every person that we impact then can impact 10 more people. That impacts, that one person then impacts 100 people, because the 10 people, the 10, whatever, you get the effect of that. So bringing yourself into the work that you're doing, what is it that you do right now?
I do a lot of different things, but mostly, I'm mostly helping people find their power of love within themselves and using love as their guiding light and their healing force. And the way I help people love themselves on the deep level is through my acupuncture. If you are in the Bay Area, coming to see me in person to help with any kind of chronic illness or any kind of health condition that's impeding their life and also affecting how they feel about themselves and ultimately how they feel about others and the global sense of the world, how they feel about the world. And then I also work online doing spiritual coaching, and where I help clients get in touch with their heart, and through that, helping them in their wellness, helping them in their life, helping them in their business, all centered around how they can love themselves more and how they can transform the emotional pain, physical pain, health conditions into a better state so that they can love more and be a more radiant human being on the planet.
So it's very interesting because the other day, Spirit said to me, I need to do acupuncture. And I have never experienced acupuncture really ever in my life. Can you? Yeah, no, seriously.
I wish you lived here.
I do too. I have been to the Bay Area, but that was right at COVID time. So can you just share a little bit about how you got into acupuncture? Did it tie in with your empath journey? Like, did you find out through being an empath that acupuncture was the right profession for you because of the energy? Can you like share a little bit about that?
Well, I've always been sensitive, and I suffered from depression, and I always felt emotionally stuck. And I grew up in New York City, which is probably one of the hardest places to grow up if you are an empath, because there's millions of people around you all the time and there's no personal space. And I was in New York. I was working at an acupuncture school actually as an office manager after college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I was thinking about becoming a personal chef, because at that point I was plant-based. I was very much into nutrition and lifestyle. And then I had a cyst on my right ovary. Now, the doctor at the time was like, oh, you can get surgery, blah, blah, blah. And I was like so freaked out about surgery that I was like, no, I'll try acupuncture. And mind you, I'm really afraid of needles and I don't like needles. So for me, getting acupuncture was like such a big deal. But after the treatment, after 2 months, my cyst went away. I had really bad menstrual cramps. They went away, or at least the pain decreased a significant amount where they were manageable. And it felt like a miracle for me, that fact that I was able to heal on such a deep level and avoid surgery, that I decided to become an acupuncturist. Because at the time, I was looking for something that was holistic. Like I was thinking about becoming Ayurvedic doctor. I was thinking about naturopath. I was thinking about even becoming a midwife. And acupuncture at the time was everything I enjoyed. It was energy work, it was body work, it's nutrition, it's herbs, and it's the actual system of how energy works in the body. I enrolled in the program and I broke up with my boyfriend. And this is where I felt like acupuncture helped me on an emotional, spiritual side, because I was a mess. I didn't know what to do, where to move, what should I do. And I was completely ungrounded, which is not my natural state. I'm pretty grounded as a person. I got a few treatments, acupuncture treatments, and it completely shifted my energy. And I was able to make a clear decision. I decided to move to San Francisco. I moved within 2 months. And that's where I saw the power of acupuncture, not only for physical stuff, but really for the emotional, spiritual stuff as well. And then I became an acupuncturist. I moved to the Bay. I met people. I met a community of people. I got a spiritual mentor coach, and she was the one that pointed out that I was an empath. And I was like, what's an empath? And I was 25 at the time. I was like, I don't know what that is. And then I started researching, and it was pretty much the story of my life. I was like, oh my God, I am an empath. Like, I do feel people's emotions. I feel their physical emotions. Like if somebody has a headache, I start getting a headache. I'm like, somebody's not feeling well here. And there's different types of empaths. So I studied the different types of empaths. I don't have all of them, but I definitely have, the cyst made sense when I went back and thought about it, because I had a boyfriend we weren't really doing well. And sexually, I was also taking on a lot of his energy. And the cyst was probably my body's way of saying, hey, you need to stop. Because by the time the cyst happened, our relationship kind of went south and I was able to break away and move away. So I just learned that I absorb people's energy and how to cope with that. And I developed my own way of dealing with it. I've been teaching people that are my clients that are also empaths, because empaths attract empaths. And it's been a journey of how to use it as a gift, and instead of thinking of it as a curse. Because for a long time I was like, oh my God, who wants to be an empath? This is terrible. And now I love it. I'm just like, this is so great. I feel so blessed that I have this opportunity to feel more and be more in the world.
So before you knew at 25, right? How did that impact your life in terms of like, I really want you to tell the story that you told. I don't know if that happened before you were 25 about being at different parties and different experiences.
Oh, that was afterwards.
Okay. So like, we'll get to that because I think that this is a significant thing to talk about. As an empath, you don't even know what you're capable of experiencing or receiving. So before you knew, did you like you had the cyst? What other like ways
Well,
did it present to you?
I was very sensitive, so I always felt everything that was happening in my family at home, but I just shoved it down, and all of the emotions I felt kind of got clouded in the mask of depression, right? Yeah. So everything kind of just got stuffed into depression. So I was always depressed. And in college, I had very weird experiences. Like, you know, we all experiment with marijuana and kind of weed and all that kind of stuff, alcohol. And it felt always more intense than it did for everybody else. Like, I always felt more. And I think I tried to do ecstasy once. I did do ecstasy once, and I was up all night. It was like the craziest experience. And so I didn't really do drugs because I was kind of like, I felt like I felt more than everyone else. And it was always more intense. And I didn't know why. I was 20, some early 20s, and I was just like, oh, I don't know. Parties were always more intense. Everything was intense. And so I just went on my life not knowing why I take things so deeply and everyone else seems to pop back up and seems to be okay. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about it because what do you say to somebody? Like, oh, I went to the party, and everyone's like the next day eating at in commons, like acting normal. And I'm like exhausted, like I didn't sleep for a week. And I'm like, we had the same amount of drinks. Why am I so tired?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I stopped drinking at a certain point because I just was like, I don't understand why it's so hard for me to recover. And it wasn't until I was told I was an empath at 25, and I was like, okay, I'm an empath, whatever. And I like researched it, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'm an empath. Didn't really like, I didn't really take it in. I was kind of like, and okay. You also have to remember, I'm from New York City, right? And New York City is like, we're New Yorkers. You come to California, and people are like, you're an empath, and I'm like, whatever. Like, this is some frou-frou crap. Like, what are you talking about? Next thing you know, you're gonna be smudging me and crystals. And I was just like, from New York, I was like, whatever, y'all. Even though now I'm totally like the most woo-woo person.
You and give your crystals. And
I'm like, I mean, like, you know, like, let's sit in the earth and pray. Like, I'm all about it. But back then I was like, what are you talking about? You guys are witches. So I didn't really take it in, right? So I kept living my life. I was young, right? So I would go to parties. I went to Burning Man. So this was the year 2009. I had a festival year. So I went to all these festivals. I went to Lightning in the Bottle, and that was fun. But then every time I went, I had weird experiences. Again, like, I don't do drugs, but I'd be around people that are tripping on acid and whatever. And I would start tripping. Like, I was like, why does everything look wonky? Like, I would be standing in this part, you know, everyone's dancing, and all of a sudden everything's like, everything is like moving around like I'm high, and I didn't do anything. I'm totally sober, drinking my coconut water. Like, what is happening? And then eventually I was like, why do I feel so high? So then I would start spinning. I would get dizzy. So I had to go back to my tent, went to sleep. And then I was like, okay, I just kind of brushed it off. And I was like, okay, maybe that's happening. And then I went to another one. Same thing happened. That one was worse. That one I actually started to vomit as if I was really like high. And I was like, what is happening? And then finally, of course, I talked to my spiritual mentor. I was like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, you're an empath, remember? You absorb energy that's around you. And I was like, what? I was like astonished, but then it totally made sense. And at that point, because I had suffered, it was really bad, the situation that happened to me at the festivals, I started to understand, like, oh, wow, I really do absorb energy in that way. So then I started to take the empathy thing a little bit more seriously, and really started to monitor how I was feeling, why I get tired all the time, why I get depressed all the time, why I can't go to certain environments because I start to feel everything. And then I started to notice, after I started to take ownership of my empathy, started to be like, okay, I'm an empath. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's navigate my world as an empath now that I'm going to actually embrace it and not be in denial. If I went to a bar, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I start feeling drunk, and I'm drinking water. And I would wake up hungover the next day. I'd wake up hungover as if I did drink. So I noticed that I can't go to bars. Even now, I only go to like outside bars with air. It has to be airflow. Clubs, forget about it. Like a nightclub, we're just not, I'm not going to do it. Even if I go to a concert, it has to be a concert that's outside. So there's airflow. So the air makes a big difference. But in an enclosed space, it's really hard for me to just be, because I absorb everything that's happening. If people are doing drugs and alcohol, that really takes it off the edge. For me, I mean, I'm sure every empath is different.
Yes.
But I just know when people are intoxicated, and even on regular drugs, hospitals are hard.
Mm-hmm.
you know, because everyone's sick, and it's like you can't. It's like you're walking through molasses in a hospital.
Well, and I think that this is a significant gift too. Like before you knew you were an empath and you were doing acupuncture, did you feel yourself taking on your clients as well?
In the very beginning, because at 20, yeah, I was still in acupuncture school when this was all happening, so
Mhm.
I still wasn't really seeing a lot of clients. Um, but yeah, a little bit. It wasn't until I was in practice that I was like, oh yeah, I do take on people's energy as a healer in that space, but that feels different, you know, because that feels like I'm okay with that. When you come to me as a client, I'm okay taking some of that energy because I know how to disperse it and have it move through me. So that's okay. But in the beginning, I definitely was like, what's happening? Like, why am I tired all the time? But it's like, you know, and I think that's natural. Like even now I'm doing an online business. I'm working with people online. So my bandwidth has to change. So, you know, I have to energetically shift to what's happening.
So can you share some of the tools that you use? Because I know you had said like I'm good like I've learned how to like disperse the energy or to like release it. And same thing with the online. Where like even today in our call, you and I are like I open up my energy to you so that I know what questions to ask and where to steer the conversation, and I can like feel like our merged energy like kind of in a flow state. And if I think about asking you a question that I know your energy would be like, don't fucking ask me that, then I don't ask that question. I will reword it. I will get your energy's permission before I ask specific questions, right? So when you are dispersing that energy, how is it that you do it for yourself?
I do it in a lot of different ways. I think the number one thing is I work out. That's a big part. Like I work out every day, 7 days a week, and it doesn't always, it's not always the same amount, but I have a Peloton bike. So I spin, I lift weights, I do yoga, I walk, I hike. Like I do as much physical activity every single day as I can. I make sure that I take showers every day, even though that seems kind of obvious, but taking a daily shower with the intention of the water cleansing my energy field, like using water as a cleansing tool. I wash my hands several times a day. You know, if I'm doing energy work, like with the intention. It's always with the intentionality of using the water as a cleansing tool. I would take salt baths more. I'm just not a bath person, so I use salt scrubs. So I use a salt scrub as in terms of instead of soaking, I just scrub my body. If I feel like I really need a deep energetic cleanse, I do a salt scrub and then take it and rinse it off with water. I have crystals all over my office. I use selenite all over. I have selenite in every corner of my office. Um, that's helpful. I have singing bowls, toning forks. You know, I do that. I do an energetic cleanse in terms of imagining golden light and all of that. But my most important thing for me in terms of cleansing, so to speak, my energy is using love as a frequency of healing. So tapping into my love energy, permeating that love energy through my auric field, my energy field, like spreading it out through my clinic, and so that the energy of love I feel like is the highest frequency of all. So really by raising my frequency to that level, it prevents like negative energy to really permeate the space. And you know, hopefully me. So even when I go into a space, I know there's gonna be lots of people. I put my love bubble up and I'm like, okay, filling myself up with love. Because empaths, we're sponges. We essentially absorb energy everywhere we go. So for me, the idea is to really fill up my space with love and fill up my energy field so that I'm absorbing less. So I always am gonna like pick up people's energy, but the idea is like I feel it, but it doesn't stick to me. It kind of just rolls off.
I love that. I actually enjoyed that you actually brought salt up because I don't think a lot of it, I didn't touch on this in any of the episodes. So I know what salt does, but can you share why rubbing yourself in salt is important?
Well, salt is an amazing cleansing tool, right? So it's of the earth. It's so by using it, the properties of salt actually helps to cleanse your system. And the thing about energy and salt, if you think about salt in the ocean, it's absorbing the water, right? So it's an amazing absorption tool. And so by using it on your skin, you're not only does it make your skin soft and it kills off dead skin cells, that's a that's nice. It also absorbs the energy that you're carrying that's on your system, that's in your energetic field. And, you also want to make sure that when you're scrubbing your body or sitting in a salt bath, that you're using it with the intention of, I'm cleansing my energy of all the negative energy or the energy that's not mine. Sometimes it's not necessarily negative, but it's energy that's not yours.
So you keep bringing up intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you keep bringing it up. So can you share, because intentions are the most potent ways, I always say, for me, intention, speaking intention is invocation,
Right.
right? It's like spellcraft for me, because I'm totally a witchy witch. So like the intention is weaving what it is that you desire or your outcome or your experience or whatever it is into the energy that is around you. So can you share why the intention piece is so significant for you?
Well, the intention is, for me, it's like a cake. You have a cake, but the frosting is what makes the cake, right? You can have, it's what really makes it appetizing. It's why you want to eat it, because you see that beautiful frosting and all of that. So the intention is that piece that creates that energy of magic around what you're talking about. Otherwise, it's just a cake with no frosting. Kind of like, oh, it's just like two blobs of chocolate, I'm like, okay, that I can eat it and it's gonna be good, but the frosting is what makes it yummy and appetizing, and it attracts you. And I feel like that's what intention is. It's that attraction of the magic of the universe and life supporting you. So by doing something with intention, you're putting your energy in it, you're putting your heart in it, you're putting your whole being into what you're doing, which can create the movement that you're intending. Because if you're just gonna take a shower like normal, everyone takes a shower. We all take showers, well, hopefully. And you're washing yourself, but you're not really thinking about cleansing your energy. You have to think about it. You actually have to have that, okay, I am doing something. So even if you're doing something benign, like washing your dishes, you can do it with intention and it becomes a meditative practice. So that changes the energy and the vibe of whatever you're doing.
Totally. And can I bring it back to acupuncture, because I'm still fucking super curious, because Spirit's like, you need to do acupuncture. You have this like embodied acupuncturist in front of you right now that you can ask any questions. Like, I want to know from the level of an empath, even, because you say that most of the people that come to you now, you get to like work on them from that level. How significant is acupuncture in supporting an empath's, like, save me? Like, you'd be like, oh my God, Avalon, get on my fucking table, because this is so important or impactful for you.
I would say that acupuncture is probably one of the best ways to also release energy as an empath, because acupuncture is all about moving stagnation, and it helps to circulate blood, it helps to circulate the lymph system, it helps to circulate chi or prana, life force. And ultimately, as an empath, we are absorbing energy all the time. And of course, we do all our cleansing techniques. But when you do acupuncture or any kind of energy work, it helps to move the energy out faster. Acupuncture, I feel like, is one of the more powerful ways to move energy, because you're inserting a metal in the body. And metal is a conductor of heat and energy. So you put a foreign object in the body, and the body automatically realizes, oh, this is not supposed to be here. This is foreign. But in that way, you're activating your immune system. Your body starts to know, oh, this is here. And then it's like, oh, another metal piece is here. And then it's like, ding, ding, ding. So the body starts to create its own healing abilities. And the magic of an acupuncturist is to know which points to put to give you the ultimate healing based on palpation, the tongue, the pulse, or however they diagnose you. They can start to figure out, okay, your energy is blocked here. We need to move this. We need to move this. Acupuncturists that are more in line with spirituality take it to the next level. So then now they start to influence the chakras. They start moving aura. They start doing different things in the utilization of acupuncture. There's esoteric acupuncture that really focuses on the spiritual side of acupuncture, where energy starts, and illnesses start on the energetic level. So now if you're able to tap into that energy field, then you can shift things before they manifest on the physical plane, right? So then finding an acupuncturist or thinking about energy in that way It also help you prevent illness, because now you're working on energy that hasn't manifested yet, but it's still in your field. So you can release that before it manifests. Or you have something in your physical body. Now we want to start to work on it. How do we remove it from the physical space and then move it through your auras and through your chakras and get it out of your system from the core? Because you can fix something physically. Like if you have a neck pain, of course we can help you with your neck pain. But if we're not dealing with the stress, if we're not dealing with, perhaps you're having a relationship difficulty, and now it's affecting your neck and your stress, and then ultimately we find out you feel like you're not worthy, so now you're in a bad relationship, all the way down to your neck pain, so it's like working on all those different pieces to help you heal on such a deep level that pain doesn't come back, right? So you're working on all those levels: the emotional level, the spiritual level, the mental level, and also the physical level.
I want to come to the Bay Area right now. Like, I'm like, put me on your table. Like, as somebody who works in the chakras too, like I keep thinking like how poignant and powerful it is to have access to the meridian lines, right? Like, you had to learn the meridian lines and how all of this energy flows through the body, into what way, and like, because you nailed it on the head. When for me, I just work on seven energetic centers with my clients, but you have access to how many meridian lines are there?
14 meridian lines, and then there's extra lines. Yeah, so it's major. The major ones are 14. So it's interesting because the chakras energy feed into the meridians, right? So that's all like one energy system. So you can work on certain meridians to affect certain chakras and vice versa, right? So by working, like if you're working on the sacral chakra, you're affecting the liver meridian, the spleen meridian, all the digestive meridians at the same time.
Got it. What is the most significant experience you've witnessed in your practice, like in terms of somebody coming in and having like, and whatever, can you, like, I'm just, like I said, super curious about this. Like somebody came in and they were like, well, they were stuck in here and this was happening in their life. And then through the energy work, I can feel the energy that you bring to the work that you do is what actually catapults people through the process, right? Because having access to the esoteric practices or being able to see or experience energy leaving the actual auric field or traveling through the different planes, to actually be fully released. I don't think every acupuncturist can do that, Carine. So like, let's just like claim that right now. That's a Carine special. So if you're in the Bay Area, like, please go see her and tell me how the experience was.
No, I am unique. Yeah, there are acupuncturists that meld energy with acupuncture, but a lot of acupuncturists just do that. I think it's fascinating because it's all energy work. It's all one. So it's just a different way of looking at it. And so I've had a lot of clients that have had different experiences. And what I always think is significant is when clients come for one thing and then something else happens. Like I had one client that was trying to get pregnant, and but her husband was an alcoholic, and I feel like she didn't get pregnant mostly because God was saving her from being in a terrible situation. And so we were working on her pelvic pain. She had really bad period pains, and she was having nightmares. And I was grateful that she was open to energy stuff and all that, but she had weird auric things in her field because she's from a different country where they're more superstitious and do a little bit more what we call black magic. So she had a lot of oracle, she had a lot of astral objects in her field. So we worked on releasing all of that, giving her treatment, working on her pelvic floor, helping her release all the energy that's stored in there. Her periods got better because she had really bad migraines. All of those physical things got better. Her migraines got better, her period pain got better, her pelvic pain improved, her digestion improved. All of those things were happening. And then in that whole time, she was also building more strength within her, more love, more strength, more internal power. And she left her husband.
Oh, I just got shivers.
She left her husband. And I mean, I never told her to leave her husband. Let's be clear. Like, I never said, he's abusive and he's an alcoholic, you need to leave. What I helped her do was find her strength and find her power and release the energy that was blocking her from seeing her authentic self, right? Once she was able to see who she was like, oh, I don't need to be with this abusive man. I could leave. Because it's hard to leave an abusive relationship.
It is totally
very hard.
Hard.
Right.
It's excruciatingly hard.
Right.
And that can be partner, it could be familial, like family of origin, it can be children, it can be any abusive relationship. I just want to bring that to the forefront. That it doesn't just, we think partner, like leaving a relationship, we automatically associate it's love relationship, but partner relationship, but there's so many other levels and different
Exactly. And for
relationships.
me, that was one of my most beautiful side effects of working with me. It's like she found herself, and that's my ultimate desire for all my clients, is for them to find more love within themselves, more power, more beauty, more radiance, more joy, and that they see, oh, I can have a different life. I don't need to be doing this. I could be doing that.
So when were you like, okay, I need to take this online? Because now what you just said, that's what you want to embody in your clients. You were doing it in the acupuncture world. So when were you like, no, no, I need to bring this globally to people anywhere and everywhere?
I've always wanted an online business. It was something I've always wanted for the last 10 years. And I've just been hesitating because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to bring online. Because as an acupuncturist, I was like, well, I can't needle people online. So how can I? And it was really because of freaking COVID, man. COVID was really like what propelled me, because I was like, oh crap, time is short. It really brought my mortality to the forefront of my mind, because I was like, I could die tomorrow. I could just breathe some virus in and die. And it wasn't coming from a fear place, like I'm freaked out to go outside or any of that, but more so like I want to live. I want to live my dreams now. There's no waiting. There's no tomorrow. I just turned 40. I was like, it's now or never. It's either going to happen now, or I'm just going to live my life in a quiet way. But if I want to be big and I want to be loud and I want to impact the world, it's now or never. And that's kind of what shifted it for me. It was really this whole pandemic was like, I can't do this. I can't play small anymore. People are dying all over the world, and people are dying of illnesses, but people are dying of broken hearts. People are dying of not feeling loved, not feeling appreciated, not feeling seen, not living the life they want to live. People are dying with full on regrets.
Well, and I think that there's something significant that you just said, right? Because our bodies are meant to be in communion with each other. Touch is one of the greatest releases of serotonin that we have, which battles the depression, which battles the lower, denser energies, which gives us opportunity to tap into, ourselves in a different way. And we had the restrictions, and there were so many people who couldn't have those types of engagements. They couldn't touch people. Literally, people alone in their house could not come in contact with anybody. And being witness to like the emotional decline of them through that experience, right? So I think that that's just something I wanted to come through and to touch upon, is like how pivotal this last year has been as a collective, like as a collective consciousness, and being able to tap into our collective pain as well, because I don't think it's all just about collective love. I think that we can only experience collective love when we acknowledge the collective pain. And so we have really been witness and experiencing so many communities that are rightfully being brought to the forefront because we are able to feel them differently and to see them differently. And it was this around the same time too, because again, not launching an online business just because, like this was the time. Can you share for those that are listening, because it's not an easy thing to just like say, oh, this is it, I'm going to be an online entrepreneur. How did you make the transition?
Well, I got a team together. So I hired some people to help me with like Facebook ads and all of that. So I kind of made the leap of, doing that, because I hesitated a while on that. And I think for me, it was an energetic shift on what exactly I wanted to present. And it changed. Like in the beginning, I was like, I want to do this. And then that didn't quite feel right. And I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I was like, oh, I want to do this. And that didn't feel right. And so I had to find what I truly wanted to do globally. It doesn't matter if it's online, it's in person. And once I figured that out, it became a lot easier to just present who I am. And it's still not 100% because I'm still not quite sure what to call myself, because I am doing spiritual coaching, life coaching, holistic health coaching. Am I a coach? Am I an expert? Am I a teacher? There's so many different ways of presenting yourself. I think that's where I have a hard time, is in the marketing of what I do. But ultimately, I know what I want to do is pretty much spread love and healing. right? And help people move past their emotional pain in however way I can. So if that's in the physical sense, because I could see you in person, or if it's on coaching online, if it's with your health and wellness, if it's like, how can you eat better? How can you exercise? And, so there's so many different angles, but for me, that's really a big part of how I want to show up in the world and what I want to bring, like what my legacy is, right? Like if when I leave the planet, they'll say, oh, Carine was an amazing, loving force and she was helping people heal. And then I could just die a happy person. And that's literally what COVID brought for me. I was like, okay, if I'm going to die tomorrow, I could at least say I've helped one person love themselves more and love people more. And that's what I live for every day.
And where in this process were you like, okay, it's time to have a podcast?
Oh, podcast came from spirit, like, and it's so funny when other people say, before I'm going to preface this, when other people said stuff like that, I was always like, that's interesting. Like, not judging, but I'm like, I never really get that. Like, but I wanted to do a podcast for 2 years. I bought this mic 2 years ago. I bought it 3 years ago. I bought it in 2017. No, 2017. Sorry, 2017. I bought it and I was like, I'm gonna do a podcast. I had no idea what I was going to talk about and I didn't do it. It just sat and collected dust. Then last year, 2020, I was like, okay, I want to bring something to the world. What should I do? And I was just like, maybe I can do a podcast. I'm like, that sounds a little hard. I don't have a team. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So let me start with IG, Instagram. So I did these Instagram lives where I would just bring on people I love, and I called it, I think I called it Infinite Love. That name just came to me one morning. I was waking up and they were like, Infinite Love. I was like, okay, Infinite Love. And then I started talking to my friends that I loved about what they loved. And it just became like just chit-chatting. And then at some point I had exhausted all my friends on IG that I wanted to talk to. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do a podcast. And then the podcast happened. And then I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? Like just love. I mean, because when you say love, people always think about romantic love, family love. But I'm really talking about that unconditional love, that divine love that moves mountains, the love that we talk about when we read about Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and all of these powerful spiritual beings. That's the love I'm talking about when I say infinite love. And so for me, I wanted to talk about how people transform their lives using love and decided to now change other people's lives. Because I want people to understand that love isn't just a conditional thing like I love you, you love me. No, love can actually move mountains. And so that's why I wanted to create a podcast to really talk about how people are shifting their lives because of love. And not out of fear, not out of because they had to, because they love what they do, they love who they are, and they want to spread love around the world. And then you get that infinity because it keeps going and going and never stops.
I just want you to know how much I enjoyed watching you say all that because you were so passionate and like you were like hitting your table and like everything was like, yeah, it was like, so this is what I was talking about when I was explaining you in the beginning and saying like you radiate this like, it's a supernova that comes out of you. And it's just like, anytime I have access to being in your field, I'm like, please let the sunshine of your love be able to wash over me so that I can experience that highest vibration that I can feel coming off of you. So, I'm just so grateful for what you just did there. It was like a shower. I hope everybody listening felt that. And it was so potent. So if people are like, oh my goodness, I want to learn more about Carine. I want to know where the podcast is. I want to know how I can reach you in all forms and all ways. Like I am this close as soon as the airport's coming, open to get on a plane to get on your table, Carine. Where are all the ways that they can come in contact with you?
Everything is under my name. So my website's carinecamara.com. And then you can find me on Instagram. It's Carine J. Camara, because somebody took my name. So you can find me on Instagram there. And yeah, I'm mostly online. And my podcast is Infinite Love Podcast. You can find that on all the podcast channels, on Spotify, Apple, all of that. And it's also on my website. So yeah.
And so they can book any appointments or any consults or anything with you through your website.
Yeah, on my website, you can totally book a session with me. I have a challenge that's going on Facebook. It's a $27 offer of self-love, like a video on how to love yourself more. That kind of gives you a glimpse of the work I do. So I can give you a link to that. Can you put
Perfect.
that in the show notes and I can give it?
If you send that to me today, we'll put it in the show notes so that we don't forget. Because I'm not really great at going back to show notes after things. If it's not in the show notes, go to Carine's website to check that out. I'm reiterating for the third time, please somebody go and get acupuncture done with Carine and tell me how wonderful it is. And last question, what does being a rebel unicorn mean to you?
Well, I think it means everything. I mean, rebel or cosmic?
Rebel, because the actual community, my community is a rebel unicorns. We're different kinds of unicorns, right? Cosmic, catalyst, ancestral, and elemental.
Well, I would say being a rebel unicorn for me, is going against the grain, because this planet is not a planet it's a planet of love, but that's not what we feel mostly. Mostly we feel more negative than not. We have more negative emotions, more negative thoughts. So I feel like it's really about going against the grain of bringing everyone to the truth of who they are. So it was a long journey for me to get to where I am now, right? Where I had to really work on myself a lot, and I still do. It's a continuous process, right? Of working against the conditioning that was brought upon me, the way I was thinking, the way I was living my life, the choices I was making, and seeing where they were coming from. So I'm a rebel in the sense where, like, I'm going against the traditional grain of just following the status quo. I'm saying, no, I want to live a life that's full of love and joy and forgiveness and generosity, which we all want intuitively, but that's not necessarily how we live our lives. So I'm pretty much having to go against the grain, because most people tell you that that's not possible. But people don't love unconditionally. People are like, no. And, when you tell that to people, people are like, no, people don't do that. I'm like, really? So you really have to, like, fight for it. I have to fight for love and fight to say, hey, this is what's happening. This, you can do this. So I would say I'm a rebel, because it's like I have to have that warrior inside of myself, that love warrior within myself, to keep myself at that level, and then now share to other people, like, how they can be a warrior of love too, which isn't something that's natural, because we have to, like, create this for ourselves and sustain it. And sustaining it is work. You can't just be like, oh, I'm a loving being, because the minute you declare you're a loving being, somebody cuts you off on the road, or somebody says something really nasty, and then you're like, and then it's life being like, are you really loving? Because that's the test, right? It's like, you can say all these beautiful things, but it's not until you're in a difficult relationship, you're having a difficult conversation with your boss, somebody curses you out, like, all these things happen to you, and then can you still be loving? Can you still be nice? Can you still be kind? Can you still find compassion? Then if you can, in those difficult moments, that's when you're a warrior, because you're like, yeah, I was still able to be compassionate in the face of somebody that was being really hateful. How many of us, I mean, it hasn't happened to me, like, where, having, like, a racist white supremacist in front of me, how am I going to act? Like, those are the moments that, I mean, of course, I, wouldn't want to be in that situation, but if I was, that's really, like, can love come through even in these difficult conversations, So, yeah.
So well said. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to call out Lisa Nichols as well. Thank you for introducing Carine and I, and being able to share the potent medicine of energy and the body and love, and just being and living our highest selves in form every single day.
Yeah. And, if you ever come back to the Bay Area to visit, you know where I'm at.
I'm totally going to come and see you. 100%. All right, everybody. Next episode will be a solo one, and it will be the last of this season. I can't wait to share. I got an idea of what I'm going to do based off of what Carine and I talked about today. So tune in on Monday for the last episode of this season. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that episode was mind-blowing. I hope you had as many ahas listening to it as I had recording it. I would love to see the Rebel Unicorns podcast spread far and wide across the globe, across the universe. So if you want to share it on your social media with something that you found impactful, leave a review, send it to a friend. It would be so deeply appreciated. Also, a little side note, I did recently change my name. I downloaded a year and a half ago that my name was Avalon Starlight. It was previously my birth name was Tamara Arnold. And if you're interested in learning what your Rebel Unicorn house is, oh yeah, there's a quiz for that. Think Harry Potter, except you're sorted into how you are impacting the world with your Stardust and what energy you're here to shift and change. You can find out your Rebel Unicorn house at www.tamaraarnold.ca/quiz. Let me know, tag me in social media, send the quiz out, and join the Rebel Unicorns Facebook group to be in a community of like-minded spiritual entrepreneurs who understand that when you shift your energy, you transform your business.